Hello and welcome to this week's video. It's going to be about super apps and how they've been really growing in Asian markets, but we still haven't seen a proper super app over here in the West. So what is a super app? It's an umbrella app that contains many different apps inside of it. So we can see in Indonesia and in China there's many examples such as WeChat and Gojek. And if we take a look at Gojek, it was a ride-hailing app for motorcycles, but since then it's developed into an app that has 20 different services. You can deliver a package, you can hail a cab, you can even watch different TV shows on its streaming service, and they're working on more and more integrations at the moment. The reason super apps really grew in these markets was because the majority of people only had access to the internet and apps and so on at a late stage than we did over here in the West. And in the West we're already used to using one app for one service, and we're already locked in on that service. So if we look at China, for example, when people started having access to the internet, there was a lot of apps that were just super busy and there was so much going on. So the users really appreciated when there was an app that was nice and clean and did everything that they needed. On top of this, in Asian countries, often there's a high density of people in a small area, which means people can really offer a great service for deliveries and so on, as all the people are clustered together. So super apps kind of try to lock you in for as long as possible, and then they know what you want and who you are, so they can quite easily integrate new services. And this makes it much easier and less risky to implement a new service, because they're already making revenue from their main business. To add something new and then test it out is not so difficult for them. On top of this, often it's much cheaper to integrate a new service because third-party companies who already have an app, they actually want to be integrated into the super app, because then they have access to the whole user base that's already using the super app. So this means the super app itself doesn't need to have a development team and create a new application. And then the whole onboarding process is much easier. The super app already knows who you are and you've uploaded all of your documents and data. So then onboarding for a new service is much quicker and easier. So it's quite interesting then that super apps haven't made their way to the Western market. And a big reason is also because of regulations and so on. The governments don't want to see companies monopolizing on the market, but also again, because people are used to using Instagram for Instagram and then Deliveroo to order their food, and they're already locked in on that certain application. We can see that there are some examples of companies that are trying, like Facebook, Uber, and Google Maps. However, a lot of the time, if we look at Google Maps, for example, you can plan out a trip and you can even hail an Uber, but usually when you do this, it still takes you to the external app, so you're not locked in on the single application. So I'm really curious to see the future of super apps here in the Western world. We can see that often companies from Silicon Valley and so on, they have this approach of really going global and super fast. But these super apps, they often focus just on one market and then really obtaining as much users as possible from this one market. So let's see what the future has in store for us, and let me know who you think will be the first Western super app in the comments. And then as always, I'll see you in the next video.